Three things Christians struggle with in the workplace and how God actually wants you to handle them. If you're a Christian working in business, leadership, or a corporate environment, the chances are you've felt this tension before. You love your faith and you take your work seriously. But sometimes those two worlds feel like they're pulling in opposite directions. Should I speak openly about my faith or keep it quiet? And what happens when business decisions push against your values? How do you stay spiritually grounded when work is constantly demanding more? Because these aren't small questions. In fact, studies of Christian professionals show that many believers struggle to integrate their faith into the workplace because of fear of reputational damage, ethical conflicts, or competitive pressure. So in this video, I want to talk about three struggles that Christians in business face the most. And more importantly, how Scripture actually provides a practical way through them. Not theory, real leadership, real faith, and right where you work. So struggle number one, how open should you be about your faith at work? This is probably the question I hear the most. You want to be authentic about your faith, but you also don't want to become that person in the office. You don't want to alienate people, and you don't want to damage your credibility, and you definitely don't want to feel like you're forcing religion into every single conversation that you have. Nobody likes that. So many Christians respond by doing the total opposite. They quietly compartmentalize their faith. Church on Sunday, work on Monday, two completely separate worlds. Jesus actually addressed this tension directly. In Matthew 5:16, he said, "Let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven." Now, notice something important. Jesus doesn't say, go around constantly announcing your faith to everyone. What he does say is, let your life show it. Faith in the workplace, you see, is less about preaching and it's more about presence. It looks like integrity when nobody's watching, calm leadership during pressure, and treating people with dignity when others don't. And it also looks like refusing to gossip and making fair decisions even when they might cost you. And sometimes they might. And over time, something interesting happens, you see, because people start asking questions. Try it and you'll see. Not because you pushed your faith on them, but because they notice something different about you. And that's when your witness becomes natural instead of forced. Your faith isn't something you broadcast. It's something people discover through your character. And people will discover it. Stay in the spirit and not in the flesh. Don't force it. So struggle number two, ethical pressure in moral grey areas. This second challenge Christian professionals face is ethical pressure, and maybe it looks like being asked to bend the numbers a little bit, cutting corners to hit those targets and hiding mistakes, and prioritizing profit over people. And sometimes the pressure is obvious, but often it can be subtle. It's a phrase you hear all the time in business. This is just how the industry works. But Scripture speaks very directly about this. In Proverbs 11:3, it says the integrity of the upright guides them. So integrity isn't just about avoiding scandal then, it's about being internally aligned. Who you are on Monday matches who you are on Sunday. Imagine the peace you would feel from that. And here's the surprising truth many leaders discover. Integrity is not actually a disadvantage. In the long run, it's a leadership advantage. And why is that? Because people trust consistent leaders. Clients trust honest leaders, people to deal with. And teams trust leaders who tell the truth even when it's uncomfortable. And Daniel is one of the best examples in the Bible of this because he worked inside a pagan government system. Not that we have any of those today, of course. He had enormous political pressure around him, yet he never compromised his integrity. So what was the result of that? He became the most trusted, there's that word again, most trusted advisor in the kingdom. And not because he played the game better. In fact, he didn't play the game at all. But because he refused to play it dishonestly. Integrity may cost you in the short term, let's be honest. But in the long term, it builds something far more powerful, trust capital. And trust is one of the most valuable currencies a leader can have. And struggle number three, burnout and the pressure to prove yourself. The endless pressure to prove yourself. The third struggle is one almost nobody talks about, or not enough, burnout. Many Christians in business quietly feel this pressure, the pressure to perform, to succeed, to prove you're capable. And before long, your identity becomes tied to performance, the promotion, the revenue. and the results. The scripture keeps bringing us back to something different. In Colossians 3:23, Paul writes, "Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as working for the Lord." Notice what Paul does here. He totally changes the audience, because you're not ultimately working for your boss. You're not ultimately working for the company either. You're ultimately working for God. And that shift, in case you haven't noticed, changes absolutely everything, because when God becomes the audience, excellence still matters. Approval anxiety disappears. What a trade-off that is. You don't need every meeting to go perfectly. You don't need every project to succeed. You simply need to be faithful with what's in front of you. And ironically, that freedom often makes people better leaders, because when you're not operating from insecurity or fear, you lead with clarity, calm, and confidence. Faith doesn't remove ambition, it reorders it. You pursue excellence, but without losing your soul in the process. So if you found this helpful, consider sharing it with someone navigating leadership or business right now. And if you're interested in more conversation about faith-driven leadership, purpose, and biblical wisdom for the workplace, please do subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.